Today's lesson is 2.8 day 1. We're talking about operations on functions, meaning we're going to take two functions, two equations, heads up if you're looking like down here at these two things, and add them together, subtract them, multiply them, divide them. That's what we're doing. So it's a little bit of a new notation, but what this weird f plus g parentheses x actually means is we're going to take f of x plus g of x. And then you just combine like terms. That's it. So you can do like all kinds of things with any equation that I give you. F minus g parentheses x means f of x minus g of x. On the subtraction ones, make sure you distribute the negative. F g parentheses x means f of x times g of x, which might mean you have to FOIL or, something like that. And then f of x divided by g of x. Okay, so that's what this weird notation means. So now you're expected to know like what this stuff actually is asking you to do. And it's pretty simple algebraically. You're either adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. So we're also going to talk about domains and stuff, and we can find the domains of all of these functions individually. And then we're actually going to continue. This is going to be our discussion for class tomorrow. So what I want to do first is just kind of experiment with finding A, which is here, B, C, and D. And then when it says list the domain, this is what we're going to do in class tomorrow because I want to have that discussion with you guys. So A is add, B is subtract, C is multiply, D is divide. That's what we're going to do with this equation and this equation. So I'm going to kind of do them one at a time, A, B, C, and D. So number 1, first of all, A is add them together. So A is, remember, it means f of x plus g of x. So my f of x function is 2x minus 5. Here's my f of x, here's my g of x. And all I'm doing is adding them together. And yeah, there are some terms that we can combine. So let me zoom out just a little bit. So this means what? X squared positive 2x minus 12. And then some people will say, do I have to factor that? Like, what do I do next? That's it. You just combine like terms and you are finished. So x squared plus 2x minus 12. And then B is subtracting. And here's just where you have to be careful distributing your negative sign. So you're taking your f of x equation, which is 2x minus 5, and you are subtracting all of the g of x, so x squared minus 7, which, be really careful, a lot of mistakes happen here. You do have to distribute that negative sign. So you end up with a negative x squared and a positive 2x, and then when you do this negative 5 minus negative 7 actually gives you a positive 2. Do you have to factor or do anything else? No, just combine like terms, you're finished. Then C says to multiply them, f of x times g of x, which in this case means we're going to FOIL. So we have 2x minus 5 and we have x squared minus 7. So that's going to give us 2x to the third minus 14x minus 5x squared and then plus 35. Yeah, you could reorder those if you wanted to, so they're in descending order. That would mean 2x to the third minus 5x squared minus 14x plus 35. Do I have to factor or do anything else? No, we're done. Just combine like terms. In this case, there weren't any terms to be combined, so no like terms there. And then D. Whoops, that's a D. Okay. We're doing f of x divided by g of x, which means my f of x is 2x minus 5. My g of x is x squared minus 7. There's nothing that factors, nothing that cancels here, so that's actually the easiest one of all. When you divide, you just write the 2x minus 5 over the x squared minus 7, and that is it. So the second half of this question, remember like reading up in the directions here, the second half says to find the domains. We are going to do those in class tomorrow. So as long as you know how to do the plus, minus, multiply, divide, then we're good. The domains are actually the harder part, so I want to talk about that in class. Okay, so for letter A, B, C, and D for number 2, we're going to do something very similar. I'm going to just do the algebra part, and then we'll do the domains in class tomorrow. So for A, remember it's two different equations now. It's asking us to add f of x plus g of x. And the f of x is this radical 2x plus 3. And then the g of x is 2 over x. So those are not like terms. They don't have a common denominator. There's nothing really that you can combine there. So actually that is it. You could get a common denominator if you wanted to combine those into one term. It is not necessary though. You don't have to. Part B is f of x minus g of x. So my radical minus my fraction. And we don't have to distribute any negative signs there because it's just minus one term for the g of x. Again, you could get a common denominator if it bothers you that it's two different terms and one of them's a fraction, but it's not necessary. Part C tells me to multiply f of x times g of x. So that's my radical times 2 over x. That you actually can combine because multiplication is kind of simple. So technically I'm going to put the 2 in front and just put the whole thing over x, because when you multiply fractions you do top times top and then bottom, which is just a 1 times bottom. Okay, so there's my multiplication one. And then D, I'm taking f of x and dividing by g of x. So that means my radical is on top and I'm dividing by 2 over x. So technically a fraction on top of a fraction is not simplified. We can do a little bit of simplification here. So remember how to divide fractions. You keep the top and you multiply by the reciprocal of the bottom. So basically you flip the fraction. And so all that's going to do is it's very similar to the example C that we did. It's going to be x and the radical on top and then just a 2 on the bottom. Silly mistake here would be to cancel the 2's. One of them's inside the radical, one of them's out. You can't cancel those. Nothing else we can do there. That's just the simplifying and the division. So basically what I want you to know after doing these problems is what this notation means and how to actually simplify and combine the equations, which isn't too difficult, but it's the domains and stuff that's going to be a longer discussion that we're going to have tomorrow. Okay, let's talk about this section down here, given this graph. And what you need to know is, again, this is that new symbol, the new notation that we learned earlier. You need to know what that means. And once you know what it means, then you'll be able to probably do the problem. So what this f plus g parentheses 0 means is, it means f of 0 plus g of 0. So, first of all, we need to find f of 0. So let's find that on the graph. So it's telling me that the line is the f of x, so this is my f of x. So I'm going to find when x equals 0, which is right here, where is the y value of the line? The y value is also 0. So that's 0. And then what about g of 0? So the g is my parabola, and so this is the g equation, and at x equals 0, the y value is 2. So you just add 0 plus 2 and you get 2. Okay, so same thing, f minus g parentheses negative 1, that means f of negative 1 minus g of negative 1. So we're kind of looking at the graph for two different numbers. The f is the line, so let's find negative 1 on the line. Here is where x equals negative 1, and that y value is negative 2. So negative 2 minus, and then let's do g of negative 1. So that's the parabola, and when x equals negative 1, the y value of the parabola is positive 1. So even though it was a positive 1, I'm supposed to be subtracting them. So I have negative 2 minus positive 1. So that gives me negative 3. So if you know what the notation means, and we've done problems that are similar to this. Fg1 means f of 1 times g of 1. So let's find f of 1. So f is the line, and at the x value of 1, the y value up here is 2. And I'm going to multiply it by whatever g of 1 is. So on the parabola, when x equals 1, the y value is 1 on the parabola. So that gives me 2. And very last one, g of 0 divided by f of 0. So you guys need to know what this notation means. You need to know that this means this, and this means this. And once you can actually separate it out, then you should be able to find the points on the graph. So g of 0, the g is my parabola. So when x equals 0, my parabola is up here at 2. And when when x equals 0 for the f, when the x is 0, the y is also 0 for the line. Oh, and I cannot do 2 over 0. That is undefined. Okay, so we're going to finish this up in class tomorrow, you guys. Bring whatever questions you have, but pretty basic stuff. The domain is what we're going to talk about in class tomorrow of these problems up here. So we got a little bit more talking to do. Other than that, thanks for watching and have a good night.